Today on the eveRide channel, we're pitting the old versus the new, a 1994 Kawasaki KLX 250 against a 2016 KTM 350 XCF-W 6 Days Edition. Now before you write it off, know that the old KLX has had a few modifications. For detailed explanations of those modifications, click the card in the upper right corner. The short version though is that it was bored and stroked to a 351, the suspension was dialed, it got a new bumper carb, nearly everything but the frame was replaced, and what started as a $400 pile of spare parts was basically turned into a little beastie. So it's an old but heavily modified dual sport versus a modern, top-of-the-line dirt bike, blinged from the factory. The KTM has about 60 hours on it. The KLX has 24 years on it. KATSUMI was born in the time of Star Wars on VHS, and phones with the super long curly cords. Fresh Prince was on your tube TV, and Pearl Jam wasn't called daughter on your anti-skip Walkman. The KTM, on the other hand, comes from an era of Disney digital Star Wars, and smartphones, and 4K, and Justin Bieber. So while music and pop culture has gone bass-ackwards, tech obviously has not. But what about dirt bike tech? Is a top-of-the-line modern dirt bike really that much better than the old lightweight refurbished designs of a quarter century ago? First of all, since comparisons like this are utterly pointless and subjective and based on the biases and skill and experience of the rider, we'll go ahead and get this out of the way first. I am slow. I grew up on the Sega Genesis and the NCC 1701D, not a dirt bike. I like softer suspension, a softer seat, and a smoother ride. I've never raced in my life, and I'm far more concerned with how my atrophied muscles and thinning bones feel after a ride than chugging energy drinks and shredding gnar. If you want a hardcore review from a hardcore dirt rider on the most hardcore trails in the most hardcore way, this isn't the video or the channel. If you are a weekend trail rider, perhaps somewhere near the peak of life's hill, maybe you've got some kids, some insurance bills, and a mortgage, and you're wondering if your midlife crisis would be best sated with a fire-breathing KTM, or if you should just calm it down with an older, cheaper bike and have money left over for, kids' college funds, then you are who I'm making this comparison for. Now, when I started on Film Day, I pretty much knew how this was going to end up. I have run this experiment with other modern dirt bikes before, KTM, Beta, Husqvarna, even newer Japanese bikes, and the result has always been the same. Newer motorcycles are smoother, more powerful, and feel much tighter, but they're also more rigid, less comfortable, harder on the pasty, unsculpted bodies like my own, far more expensive, and unless your paycheck depends on a lap time, the added smoothness, power, and feel have not once been worth that added coin and wrench time to me. And then, the 6 days happened. Crazy. It is a ridiculous amount of fun, and just to be able to slide the back out and get it to the rev limiter in this kind of crap is just good. Like, that is just fantastic. I have tasted the forbidden fruit. The KTM XCF-W 6 Days has ruined me. Nothing I have ridden has been this good in the dirt while still being inexplicably comfortable, tractable, and manageable. I was transformed from an out-of-shape old trail-riding duffer into an out-of-shape old trail-riding duffer who felt like this. So this is where things get really tricky. Usually I'd say the XCF-W 6 Days is a great bike, but there's not enough difference to merit paying 5 times more than the modded KLX for it. But in this case, I genuinely have a hard time deciding. I absolutely love the KLX. It's awesome, very capable, comfortable, and fast enough for my needs and my skills ever will be. And it holds enormous sentimental value to me. To jump on the KTM and fall head over heels in love with it feels dirty. Like I need to take a shower or visit a confessional and I'm not even Catholic. After all, this is the channel about dual sports and off-road adventures and mild enduro on a tight budget. To get all hot and bothered over a modern, expensive, full-on dirt machine would be like Wilford Brimley promoting Viagra and dating a Victoria's Secret model and joining Nitro Circus. Viagra. And yet, here we are. A difference of $8,000 is... I know. But is that worth it? This should be easy. It should be no. They're both just dirt bikes. They both do roughly the same things, but one is far more expensive. But in this case, it is so hard to say, and that's unsettling. I mean, $8,000. That's half a year's mortgage. At the historical stock market average since 1950, adjusted for inflation of 7%, would mean that that same $8,000 would be worth $60,898.04 when I retire. The difference alone is worth more than the combined total of all of the motorcycles I have ever owned. That's 5,174 McDoubles, and yet it might be worth it. But why? The best way I can explain it. While I was riding the 6 days, I thought of this very scene, and I was like, I'm Thor now. This bike has made me into the god of thunder. And just maybe, that feeling is worth an extra $8,000. Nah, I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's good. It's amazingly good. Thor riding a bolt of lightning into a pile of baddies with one eye good, but $8,000 is like, I don't even know. I seriously think that if I had $10,000 in my pocket 5 minutes after riding the XCF-W, I would have bought one. But I didn't, and I don't. And if 10 grand suddenly materialized in my pocket right now, even though it would be more tempting than any other dirt bike I have heretofore tested, I wouldn't. As it stands, what I have right now is still awesome. It may not be Thor riding a bolt of lightning good, but it's still Thor knocking Sartor around to the Immigrant Song good. Whether it's truly worth it or not, that's up to whoever writes the check and their bank account. Either way, the XCF-W 6 Days has broken me. It's broken my channel. It has me questioning whether it actually is the bike and not the rider, or at least if we should give the bike a lot more credit. It ignited something in me, something that wants to test more modern dirt bikes and challenge my long-held dogma that they're all just pricey, loud rattle traps with over-stiff suspension, overhyped gimmicks, and shiny new plastics. Now I know that nothing will replace the Black Widow or KATSUMI ever. Those bikes mean far more than the sum of their parts, and for their prices and ages and specs, they are fantastic motorcycles and a definitively better value. But the 6 Days has shown me that modern bikes, while had at a premium, can also be truly awesome and better. That bikes on Team Orange, not all but some, can be as comfortable as they are fast, and it has shown me that modern dirt bike technology is, as the kids say, legit crate turnt lit and totally on fleek. And yes, I had to look all those terms up, but I've already forgotten what they mean. Thank you so much for watching. If you are nearing the hill or over it, but still enjoy a good hill climb, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more videos like this. And a huge thanks to my friend Colby for completely breaking me and my dogmas and this channel. And as always, an enormous thanks to my patrons and producers for making content like this possible. Much love to all of you. eveRide out.